Last Wednesday, the NBA postponed their playoff games. The NHL soon followed suit, and protesters toppled down a statue of Sir John A MacDonald, all because another black man was shot by police in the United States. This is the Great White North Report.
More expensive than the last. Watch the fresh ways they have to waste our taxes fast.
Okay, so the NBA postponed their playoff games for a couple of nights, saying we demand change. This was over the shooting of Jacob Blake in Wisconsin. They did this as a knee-jerk reaction because the first video showed Mr. Blake walking to his car with the police having their guns drawn, following him, and when he got to his car and reached in, they shot him multiple times. So it didn't look too good. Major League Baseball also agreed to postpone Thursday's games as a result of police brutality and social inequity demand immediate attention. And then the NHL did the same thing. They postponed games on Thursday and Friday. The decision was player-driven. Now, of course, by then, new evidence appeared, including a second video which clearly showed Mr. Blake resisting arrest. Police were trying to arrest him. He threw them off, walked around to his car, opened his door, and reached in. That's when he was shot. It turns out there was a knife in the car. Whether he was holding it or reaching for it, we don't know. The police were called to the scene. A woman had called them saying that Mr. Blake was there and had taken her keys and would not give them back. There was an arrest warrant out for him prior to that, and according to police and eyewitnesses, they tried to taser him twice and it didn't work. They drew their guns, followed around the car, and when he opened the door and reached in, they shot him. And they called the paramedics right away, which probably saved his life. The question is, if this is a white guy, if that had happened to a white guy with the same reaction worldwide it happened? I don't think so, and that's the hypocrisy of all this. Why? This guy, all he had to do was sit on the ground and let himself be arrested and carried away. He wasn't no good Samaritan and tried to break up a fight like they tried to report at first. This was a guy who had trouble with the law previously, one for sexual assault, had gone to his victim's apartment, harassed her, stole her keys. 911 got the police involved. They came. They weren't going there looking for, they don't go there looking to shoot somebody. They go to these things to try and help and try and defuse the situation. And it's a pretty tense situation. Like, again, it's the same thing with George Floyd. Had they not resisted arrest, nothing would have happened to them. Evander Kane, being the genius he is, says once again we're late to the party. Now, I'm not for politics in sports. The Olympics is political enough. We don't need it in hockey and that. And you got to remember, most sports players aren't the sharpest tools in the drawer. Most of these guys are, especially hockey players, barely made it through high school because of the demands of their sport. And basketball players, they get college scholarships for basket weaving, and most of them forego their senior year of eligible and declare early for the draft, so they don't even get their college degree. These aren't exactly smart guys. Not someone you want running things. There are exceptions to the rule, though. That's why I disagree with the whole boycott. This season's already been screwed up enough. Why make it more so? Why draw things out? My opinion is if you don't play, you don't get paid. This was something that didn't need to happen. So that shows us that anytime some criminal gets shot, they're going to stop playing hockey. And like I said before, had that been a white guy getting shot by a black police officer, would there have been the same kind of uproar? No. So the good thing about Blake is he did survive. He was hospitalized. And you can see the cops are there with a gun drawn and he's walking away. Like, come on, seriously. If I saw the cops pull a gun, I'd be polite as hell and on the ground. But no, he gave them attitude, disregarded their commands, and he paid the price. So now rallies were held across Canada to spotlight police violence and demand reform. Seriously, they want cuts for police budgets and increased social services spending. This same old thing again, Black Lives Matter stuff. It doesn't work. You're just gonna have more problems. Most of the shootings in Toronto are actually blacks killing blacks. Gang violence, not police violence. Does it happen? Yes. It's like there is the one bad apple spoils the bunch, I guess, idea, but for the most part, the police are pretty good. There are social services. We spend a lot of money on social services, especially for areas like Toronto. I don't want my tax dollars going to Toronto anymore. Why would I want that? Now they're demonstrating in Canada. They're demonstrating for what's happening in the United States. Why? We're not the states. Their problems aren't our problem. It sucks to be a police officer in this day and age. So what did they do in Montreal? They toppled down a statue of Sir John A MacDonald. We must fight racism, but destroying parts of our history is not the solution, says Quebec Premier. Seriously, you topple a statue? These people topple the statue because they know they'll never get one themselves because they're a bunch of nobodies. Sir John A had conviction and he went with it. He had a vision, he had a dream, and he went with it. Pretty tough to take on a statue. This is what happens when people march for stuff. Alberta's Premier Jason Kenney said he would erect John A MacDonald statue that was toppled in Montreal. He'd bring it to Alberta, and hell, I'd do the same thing too if I could afford it. I'd buy the statue and put it in my front yard. But the hypocrisy goes deeper. Not too long ago, a 5-year-old kid in North Carolina, and not was killed, was shot by his neighbor. Shot while he's riding his bike by a neighbor. He's only 5 years old. His neighbor, who had dinner with him, dinner at his father's house the night before, came over and shot him for what we don't know. And unfortunately, it was a black man that shot him. It was a white kid with a black man. Now the hypocrisy is, if this had been a black kid and a white man, there would have been a huge uproar. The media would have been all over the story. As it was, I couldn't even find anything on CBC talking about the story, though I think they did have an article about it. But CBC only goes back 2 weeks on their website. I feel sorry for that kid more than I do for Jacob Blake, because this kid is gone forever over something really senseless. This wasn't a police call. And of course with that kid, you don't hear the NBA is not gonna have any special ceremony for that poor kid. They're not gonna postpone games over some senseless violence. They're not gonna wear his name on their jersey. That's how hypocritical they are. I don't watch NBA basketball. That's what happened to the Houston Mavericks GM. And I certainly don't like Black Lives Matter or any other social justice warrior nuts. And now I don't watch Major League Baseball anyway, not since the Expos left, so that doesn't break my heart. I know their ratings are tanking right now for NBA. And now I won't even watch the rest of the playoffs. I don't care. These guys, they should be supporting the police. The police do, in most parts of Canada, the police do a great job. And that's who they should be supporting. Not some criminal. They shouldn't be supporting some guy who refused to do as he was told and sit down and let the police handle it. No, he had to get up, act like an ass, and try and get away. That's who you're supporting. It gives your head a shake. Anyway, any Canadians, what do you guys think of that whole situation? Till next time, this has been the Great White North Report.